So now that his name is in this monument, how do you feel about the recognition given here?
I feel very late. As fact, as a matter of fact, it was the only recognition with the medal that came along and being put here. It tells a story that he existed and he fought for freedom, and that makes me feel good because my grandfather did something for humanity, for generations to come. My name is Noel Downer, grandson of Theophilus Downer, who went to the 1940 war. My grandfather was a recruiting officer who recruited men to go to the war. At this time, he took some men down to the ship to be sent to England, and some of them failed, and so they took him. Unaware, his family is unaware that he was gone, and then he went away to the war.
But that sounds like the kidnapping there.
Well, it could have been. Could have been the first kidnapping in that time. And while in the war, I understand that a bomb dropped and it was not exploded. So he went to defuse the bomb and it blew up with him and killed him. Now, my father then was about 8, 9 years. And when I grew up to ask about my grandfather, he was able to tell me what happened. My father complained often that he did not get to go to school because he did not have a father to send him to school. And we lost a lot in that sense because my father could just barely send. My father went to school when he was maybe past school age. So the teacher came in the district and saw him and invited him to come to school. And he went to school for a little while. He could just barely sign his name. And so we lost out. I mean, I suffered as a consequence because my father was not educated. Then it would be difficult. He would not know how to educate me. But anyway, we survived all of that because by now I had a little education and I got a taste of what it would be like, and so I educated my children. But we inherited nothing. We never got anything. People got land and whatever, but we got nothing from that event.
So what were some of your other family members' reactions while you were growing up about Theophilus, who was taken without saying goodbye?
Well, they were very traumatic about it, the fact that he just disappeared. He was just taken away and nothing was ever said about it. There was no mention from the British people as to his whereabouts or what happened. Because after he died, it was long after we got information from so many who came back from war that was what was happening to him. So we did not get the direct communication from the British government concerning the disappearance. Right?
So now that his name is in this monument, how do you feel about the recognition given here?
I feel very late. As a matter of fact, it was the only recognition with the medal that came along and being put here. It tells a story that he existed and he fought for freedom, and that makes me feel good because my grandfather did something for humanity, for generations to come. Because to fight in a war and to seek for freedom, we all want freedom. And he gave his life for freedom. And I appreciate that. I'm grateful. I'm gracious for that.
I'm Gedion Downer, the eldest daughter of Noel Downer and the great-granddaughter of Theophilus Downer. So we've spoken to our family, and the Downers are Maroons. Part of our history is in Moorestown, in Portland, and we have Downertown there as well. And the record shows that our family, Colonel Downer, for example, was in charge of the Maroons, was part of the leadership there. And he was very instrumental in ensuring order and peace within the Maroons, within Maroontown. So our history is a very storied and rich one. If my memory serves me right, and when I was younger, some of my father's family members would talk about how my great-great-grandfather used to blow the Albeit. And that would be to alert the community when there's going to be a war. And so that was a very important, can you imagine an important call to action and leadership opportunity to be able to say, this is what's going to happen, and to alert folks to what was happening. So we do have a very rich and storied history, and one of leadership, I might add.
How do you feel about knowing that your great-grandfather, Theophilus Downer, was connected to this war?
I was shocked when I found out. I couldn't imagine that any member of our family, because I do not care for wars, But when I found out how he was essentially stolen and taken to a war that he did not volunteer for, and the economic impact on my father and my grandfather, because there was no man around to grow a man, right? And so, when I realized the sacrifice he made, and then I now realize that I live in a world that have a lot of freedoms, and this is what war does. Some people sacrifice their lives for the rest of us to be free, and I'd like to think that I'm free indeed. So I honor him. We had planned to go to Paris, to France actually, where in Estopel where his grave is, and that's one of the ways we want to honor him, to thank him for his sacrifice. So we'll go this year.
So you've never seen his grave before?
Never. We were able to research it. I spoke to the War Memorial director in London, and she invited me to come so they can give me all the information and the particulars before going there. So we're looking for, our family's planning to go, and I'm hoping Daddy will be around. When I say around, I mean interested in going. I'm sure he is. He told me that he didn't have his visa yet, so I want to make sure he quickly get that so he can be there, because I'm sure his grandfather would love to see him.
What are some of the benefits you believe that your family should have gotten from his contribution to the war?
Well, there is a letter that indicates that I think we have £20,000. We are not really interested in that, although we may go to look for it. It depends on what we find when we get there. If that is the case, we're rich. We're rich. Think of all the years that have gone by. Compound interest. But I think the benefits that we have had is we have had a history of our ancestors who have not only sacrificed and laid down their lives for not just us but for mankind. But I think for my father and my grandfather, just the decent men that they are, the honorable men that they are, the family men that they are, is an honor to us. And my brothers in particular have learned how to be men based on the men in our family. So they're not perfect by any chance, but there are qualities that make for great fathers, great husbands, great brothers, great friends, and I think our family has that in spades.
Give us some more background, Mr. Downer. So Theophilus left his son, or left a son, right? Who grew that son while he was out there?
My grandmother. His mother was common labor. She worked in some plantation for 1 shilling a day. She used to work for 4 days and then 4 shillings a week. And then she get a little plot of land for herself and go to her work and farming. And that's how she survived my father. She only wanted to take care of my father. Something that she really couldn't do, because her mother was born in slavery. My grandmother was born in slavery. She said her mother was about 12 years when emancipation came.
What about an explanation or apology for your great-grandfather's kidnapping or whatever?
I think that would be the most important thing, that even if the British government doesn't do it, the Jamaican government should. This was somebody who was snatched. He didn't volunteer, he was not cajoled, he was snatched and taken away. And I think an apology is not only due, and my father, who is approaching 90, would be well within his rights to at least hear the apology from all governments. Because nobody can go into another person's country and steal the person, right? That shouldn't happen. And now that they're aware of it, I think it would be wonderful if they could apologize to him in particular, because he lost a lot economically, socially, emotionally. He was really, really harmed because he grew up without a dad, and his dad grew up without a dad. And thank God that's broken. Because in our generation now, we have our dad and we have our mom. So I think not just reparations, but an apology for my dad right now, because that is an easy, quick thing to do, should be done. And I encourage our Prime Minister to do just so.
You said he grew up without a dad?
No, a mom. Sorry, his dad grew up without a dad and he grew up without a mom.
Okay. What happened to your mom again?
My mom?
Okay.
I didn't get to know my mom. It's an interesting story, maybe one of its kind. She has 3 boys and none of us knew her. That was the first one. She gave it to my father, who lived in a remote area of St. Thomas, a remote area. And she never came back to see me. She had 2 other children, and she died after birth of the last one. So my father mothered me. So I grew up with my father. So you see, I would have lost again. It follows me that I lost my mother, I didn't know her. So.
But he had his dad, and that's important.
My father, well, he made a difference. He made all the difference. He mothered. In schooling I got, he made sure. I don't know where he got the idea from. Because in our district, everybody wears tear clothes. All the clothes, only the waist is original. And my father sent me to school every day, to elementary school. And I'm still going bobbing. Because other boys don't go to school if they can't carry 6 and banana. They don't go to school on Friday. And my district, nobody goes to school on Friday except me. My father did that, and that changed the whole picture, situation.
Education was a priority. Education was a priority.
The Lord must have put it in him, because I said, I had no motivation to learn at school. There's nothing, nobody's telling you, no. One thing I did, what caused me to learn the ABC, I did. I didn't like the field, I didn't like cultivation, and the water and the rain and the mud. So I made sure I learned that if teacher saw him and asked him, what is he doing? The teacher can say, let the boy stay in school. If I'm saying not learning anything, go and pull him out and say, well, if he's not learning, let me pull him out. I didn't want that. And that was my motivation. And caused me to learn ABC like that.
You're now retired now. Tell us some more about the career that you had before retirement.
I operated a garbage collection service. It was interesting, It was it started with zero. And it goes, survive, supported my family. It was that's why I was my children are all educated.
How many children?
8 of us, and all 8 of us went to university. He's a very humble person. So he was one of the first person that started what we now call environmental health, right? The garbage disposal system. And to tell you how it is interesting, when the Pegasus was being built, he had just started his business. He went to the people constructing the hotel and said, I would like the contract to clean this hotel. And when the hotel opened, they gave him the contract. So he was working with ports. Yeah, many contracts. So he didn't do environmental health. It has expanded, which was garbage disposal. And I think that allowed him, along with my mom, who education is a priority. And so all of us are college educated, all of us, and the next generation too. So, it is a party for us, and really important.
I never dreamed of a doctor in my children. I thought about maybe down the road. I should have done.
At some point in time, I'm hoping to be able to look at the other names that are here, to see who they are, and to make sure that our country honors them ourselves. We don't need to wait on people to honor us. We can do it for ourselves. And I think the sacrifices that these individuals have made is something that we should honor, just the families, because they all sacrificed, and as a result of that, all of us did. But I think that we were honorable, and that men died for us is something that we should not take for granted. And we should give back somehow in honor of that. So thank you.
Another thing, many advocates have been pushing for families like yours to be giving compensation for losing loved ones in this way. Are you for that, and why?
I don't think we've ever discussed it, but I think for the families who want it, I think it's fine. I think compensation should not necessarily be financial, but it could be education. Because education makes a person fit company for themselves, but it also allows you to come out of poverty and give you a broader perspective. So I think education, for example, high school, college, those are the reparations I think that should come from this opportunity, because that's something that's lifelong. And that's what I think, would make sense in my opinion, Daddy. What about yours?
My opinion is different. If there is financial gain, then we should, because we can't think about everybody else. If there's a financial gain, I think it will come to our family, because our family by now is big and they have suffered too. I have gone through a lot of difficulty to educate them, and some of them are still struggling. And if I could get some money to take them off challenges they have now, I'll be happy to do that.
Intergenerational differences.